thought I'd speak about a tool that I periodically implement. As everything is within yourself, literally everything. That's where we get caught. We get caught within ourselves, and then we see things outwardly. And then we try to project from a place of inferiority to fix the outward. It's fairly similar to the what could be looked at as the allegory of the allopathic medical system of Western culture, where it's trained itself to be incomprehensible to the true causes. And so our life tends to be, in every way, a very clear story telling us what the true cause is within us so that we can address that and grow as a spiritual energy, uh, limitless being, eventually getting to the place of controlling ourself, mastery of subject, then mastery of self, and then being able to offer that great energy to others. It's pretty clear to me that that's a large part of what we are all able to do in this place. I'll speak for myself. Many times I find, and there's a direct correlation between separation of meditation and taking in energy from outside in the normal world. Many times I find that there's a looping mechanism within what's considered the mind. And the unconscious fills this bubble in the self-conscious, and the self-conscious just hears it and replays it over and over. Then the self-conscious feeds into it. And I'll probably get into parts of that in another talk, in which I come to the conclusion through an allegory that popped in that the devil is the core gesture in your own mind, dancing and playing for your attention, and what you put your attention on grows. Therefore, it's in a certain degree accidental, and it's trapping you through the entertainment of yourself internally, and its cause is deeply unconscious. And the end result is always distraction and resistance. And it's not the enemy. It's just that you have to overcome being an audience member to that which is not capable of properly directing you. You need to step into the aware position instead of the author, actor, audience. But it's difficult to stay in that aware position because when we interact with society or others that are tied to the collective unconscious, or even ourself that's still tied to it, we entertain information, even if it's just a conversation. And then that information is absorbed in what I consider to be our unconscious. It doesn't always make it into our lower unconscious, which is more deep impressions of, surrounding our core personality, our core fears. But within the unconscious, then these conversations, these things that we've seen, these things that we've heard, these things that we thought, these little, even a song, whatever it is, is readily available. And when we're attempting to have moments of ourself, so for me, I tend to see it like if I didn't meditate before I go to bed, or if I'm doing yard work, manual labor, or something in which there's two things going on. One, my body is doing something, and then my mind is doing something. And the key is to bring those two things back. And so one of the best things we can ever do is all the way into the bottom of the belly and fill yourself up. Bottom of the belly, heart, lungs, neck, and your head. Fill your head. If your head's bothering you, fill your head. And then as you release, as you blow out, don't force it, let it go. Give yourself a couple tries. Give yourself 20 tries. I mean, you're going to be breathing for the rest of this life. So just do it right now. It's very funny how we all avoid doing this always. When you breathe out, there's a couple things going on there, but if you get all the way through it, you're letting go of that which you're holding on to. And that's a major portion of why it feels good. It also gives you the opportunity to unconsciously re-embrace the interfolds of the spirit, mind, soul, heart, and body, and to overcome the stress, overcome the story, the loop, the mechanism, the dancing court gesture, whatever it is. And so what I thought I'd mention today is how I go about clearing the mechanism. And love and loyalty is all that matters. Everything's situational and everything's always changing. So I'm sure that this will change. But it's something that I've been doing for a while and it's never not worked perfectly. It's just about doing it, you know. So this is not where I got it from. But there's a scene in a movie, and there's movies are pretty interesting. I don't watch many movies or any entertainment really at all. But I'm aware enough from my childhood to see, the clear imprinting, and not all of the imprinting is necessarily nefarious or beneficial. It's storytelling, and we are story, truthfully. And every story is the story of the stars, and the story of the stars is always the story of your spiritual growth, the proliferation of energy, and your comprehension, and then majestic, intentional manifestation of the direction, the trajectory of your energy, and mastering that. And that's all we really must focus on, but it's a continual It's a continual work, the great work, but it's also everything is so slippery in this reality that unless you're in tune perfectly with nature and yourself, everything's telling you to not look at that and look at everything else all the time. And so all those other things that you're looking at end up being information that come into you. And that, in my opinion, periodically appears within the mechanism. And so for me, the mechanism is a sphere. Not that it has to be um, like I drew it up that way. It came to me that way when I attempted to clear it. And it just, I'll tell you how that goes. But in the movie Bull Durham, I haven't watched it in a long time, but in general, uh, Tim Robbins is a young pitcher. He's kind of mentored by Kevin Costner, who's a old catcher in the minor leagues. And they talk about clearing the mechanism, or maybe it's Tim Robbins' girlfriend who tells him. But anyway, they talk about clearing the mechanism. And then, there's a crescendo in which Tim Robbins has to be the hero at the end and kind of take over the spot of the old bull passing the torch. And he's on the mound, and he's a fast throwing, wild pitcher. He's trying to make it to the pros. And there's a pivotal moment, and he gets himself back into position. And I believe he strikes the guy out or whatever. But in that process, he goes within himself and he says, clear the mechanism, clear the mechanism, clear the mechanism. Now, what's happening there is he's pulling everything away and focusing. It's very similar to what happens within me when I become cognizant of it. When I do not become cognizant of it and let it run rampant, then those conversations, those ideas, those symbols, those images, those potentialities end up trickling into what could become an emotion. And that emotion could become a potential reaction. And that potential reaction could become something that imprints into my life and those around me. And that's when shit gets fucked up. Your belly is for responding and listening and being your rudder. Listen to your belly. It's your gut instinct. It's not for reacting. And we've all been misled by society. And we all end up listening to our belly first on accident and reaction because we're just fed this energy constantly that we're not aware of. We catch it and we react to it with our belly, and then we go straight here. We live in our mind all the time. And that's literally the opposite of the way it's supposed to go. And then we get little sparks of emotion, of like faux happiness and contentment from entertainment and society, and maybe looking at babies and going on vacation or something, and that kind of touches our heart. So the heart's way in the back. It's supposed to be opposite. It's so clear. You start with your heart, and then you hold intention, and you listen to your mind, and you make your mind focus with the attention purely on the intention of the heart. So you're always holding the heart, and then you listen with your belly, and that's your rudder, and you act with friction of your body in this magical place on the intention of your heart while you're holding the attention of your mind on it. Instead, our minds are doing the best they can, but they're very sporadic because we're receiving all this ridiculous information all the time. And as much as it may be entertaining to know everything about the guys on the PJ Tour, or um, a certain singer, or even how to master market dynamics and uh, derivative trading. Yeah, if you listen to yourself, you know it's so clear. You know that's not what you're born to do. It's just not. I'm not saying those things are bad. There isn't a good and bad, really. But I'm not saying those things are the enemy by any means. I'm saying you are magical in this place, and you are truly divine, limitless spirit, and your energy is limitless, and it is divine, and it is what everything in this place functions on. What you pay attention to grows. So when you give your energy to those pursuits, you're also making those things grow. And then as you're making them grow, you are then continually, unconsciously starting to worship them because you receive a feeling back in you that you enjoy it so much because you're making it grow. It's the same thing as you watching a baby and that you have a relation to. And then the more you pay attention to the baby, the more you see it grow into a little kid, the more fond you are of it. If you plant if you buy a plant from a store and you just put it in the ground and don't come back and look at it and it gets big, you're like, yeah, I planted that. It looks good, good. But if you plant a plant from the store into your ground and you pay attention to it 3 times a week for 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week, every week for 4 years, you're going to love that plant and you're going to have an attachment to it, a fondness to it. And it's going to feed energy back to you. Well, it's the same. That's how this place works. It's the same thing of the pursuits of information. A great trick of this place, not this place is this magical realm, but this place is within the collective unconscious and how it's been fed to us, is that we have to find information outwardly. Prima vultus interiorum. First look within. The information is within you. Always. You must find the courage to look within yourself. And even if you don't find it there, to reset yourself and then look again. Learn to look. Because this whole place is a mirror. It's mirroring you on many fractal levels. And there's many filters that you picked up along the way. And they are attached to these things that we hold on to. And none of that is the real you. None of the filters or the ropes. You have to find the courage to let it go. So how I clear the mechanism. This could be like 2 minutes, and that was 20 minutes. It's extremely enjoyable for me because it's a reminder. Every time I do it, it's a reminder. It's like a wink from myself to myself. I see, I feel the energy going somewhat chaotically, and then I can feel it in my body. And then once I do that, once I become cognizant of being cognizant of it, then that awareness allows me to point at it. And then from there, so what is considered the mind, the spirit, is to the side just a little bit. It's still in the mix over here. It still has the chaos going on, conversations or whatever. But then there's a little bit that's over here going, ah, yeah, sitting in the throne again, looking at it. So once I look at it, then it becomes an orb, a sphere of information. And then I'm not sure where I got this from, but it just popped in one day and it works every time. I look and I say, but all of that is just within me. And none of those characters and none of those things actually exist. It's just empty. And then it goes empty. And after it goes empty, I always have this like I just became cleaned of a weight that I forgot that I was holding. And I feel refreshed because I was holding parts of my awareness, my consciousness, in a continual chaotic state of attempting to perfect a completely erroneous and make believe conversation. Shit is not real. They're imprints from energy that once was real. And energy doesn't go anywhere, but it's just a continual Ferris wheel with more and more and more things going on. The key is to look at the ferret, not the things in the Ferris wheel. Look at the whole thing. Look at the Ferris wheel and say, ah, Ferris wheel is an illusion. It doesn't exist. The second you say it doesn't exist, you're giving yourself the space of peace. Once you give yourself the space of peace, you then feel and remember what it's like just to be you. And that's what you're trying to get back to. But it's hard to get back to being you sitting up in a tree when you're on the back of a horse holding on to its mane and it's running away from you. How are you going to let go? In your mind, what I found the easiest, most straightforward way to do it for me is just to remember that runaway horse or that Ferris wheel, same thing, shit's not real. And whether those thoughts came from you, an impression of energy, some what would be considered a jinn or demonic form or egregore or uh, a beneficial spirit or whatever. I mean, doesn't matter. Be you. Find your purpose. Honor your gifts. Follow your bliss. Your bliss is not in running down a Ferris wheel list or a Rolodex of over and over and over and over and over again. It's never been, never will be. That's one of the beautiful things about little kids is that they're not doing that. But then they start to pick it up. And there's a lot to it. And it's very clearly tied to collective unconscious, in my opinion. But it's easy to see in the continual list of what must be done. And if you can look at like why kids receive homework, work. Fuck you putting my kid to work for at my home. I know I haven't said it to myself that I'm really true about it, but I'm going to get to that place. I promise, where I stop cussing all the time. But honestly, why in the hell are you, school or whoever you think is like, I'm pushing your kid to be the best? No, you are indoctrinated and trained, and you're pushing that same training onto my kid, keeping them from being their best. That's it. Uh, It's no different than like if you kept a couple cattle around, it's no different than the mama cows in a cow calf operation, thinking that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and then their calves end up doing what? You know, most of them become chopped up in 20 months. I'm not, no judgments, just saying, like, now look at that same perspective as those individuals in society who are thinking that they're doing the right thing, and there is no right and wrong, there's no good and bad, but they're thinking that they're doing a righteous, a great thing, and it's only based on their limited perception. But they are working hard. But is that the goal? For me, it's like working. You want to play football? Work hard and then visualize and work hard and visualize and do the same and never stop and you'll be great. Or you'll have the opportunity to be great. But not all of life has to be like that. A lot of life, most of life, I mean, in reality, all of life is already within you. So it's about unfolding it. And when you give homework to kids, it's like you're training them to do a great job on busy work. And there's no point to it. And if anybody really looks at it, it's like there's no point to it. The second that they're given approval by the teacher just for saying did, okay, you get an A, you get a star, you get an S, you get a whatever, then it's just thrown in the garbage. There's no value in that. If that's not programming an individual to be subordinate with all of their time and all of their energy for approval from the outside, what the hell is? And we pick up these things in life that requires us to make sure we're doing right by everybody else. Make sure we're doing right by ourselves in a social norm perspective. Make sure we're doing right by what the church says. Or it doesn't really matter. Most of it comes down to occupation in our society. And we tend to avoid actually serving our purpose in this life for our whole life. We spend damn near our entire life avoiding ourselves. And everyone around us does. And so if anybody attempts to try to figure themselves out or figure out what their purpose is and then pursue that and then try to do something greater in life, they're ostracized. I'm not talking about anybody who may ever hear this, or myself, or anyone I know. I'm in all of life, in all of history, that's the same story. Or history is a story of mystery, but all story in any timeline, it's always the same story. The one that has the strength to figure out what it is they're here to do and then go pursue that and then make it happen. How are they really looked at? Because everybody's scared all the time. And they're so scared they don't even want to see it. And so they're convinced that somebody else is holding the other group down because they're a fan of a certain group because it keeps them safe. And that mechanism gets filled up with information of biasedness, which is it's just spinning the wheels of energy, unintentionally avoiding the growth of your own wisdom. So, to clear the mechanism, step one is just looking at it, looking at the conversation, looking at the feeling, looking at the information, looking at how you're doing two things at once. How you're being the outward you, or the feeling of you, or the separate you. And then there's also you're paying attention to this movement, that seems to be um, important, but in reality, it's entertainment for you, even if you're not enjoying it. It's your own internal entertainment. And entertainment is the replacement for joy, or is a replacement for joy. Joy derives from internal accomplishment consistently. And when we are going through the process of living within the mechanism, it can take over us and we can actually stick our whole self in that sphere. And when we do that, it becomes very difficult to have that moment of the fourth stage of awareness, pulling yourself out, not being the actor or the audience or even the author, but completely separating and seeing the whole thing. Honoring that it's there, but keeping yourself to the side. It's difficult to have that moment and do it when you're so engrossed, ingratiated in being within the mechanism. But you just have to remember that mechanism is not you at all. And your purpose will not be found in there. And your enemy does not live there either. Is impressions of information that are they're only there because you are divine energy and you're paying attention to it. Whatever you pay attention to grows. Allow yourself to see it. Be grateful for that. If you choose to, bless all that information that's in there, whether it be terrible, gross things that you don't want to think about or see, or um, whether it's a recipe for a pie. Just bless it. And then just remember there's nothing actually there. There's nothing there. For me, it turns into the sphere is still there, but it turns into a void. Back to feminine energy is the void. Just open space. And that allows less tinkering and distraction, which allows access to this. It's hard to get to this when this keeps going. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. But if you get here, then this has no power anymore. And it's willing to listen and take direction, which that's what this is for, paying attention. But this must give, the heart must give the intention. the intention for the spirit, the mind, to pay attention to. Pay attention to the intention. Most of our opinions and damn near all of our personality is based on fear and how much of our internal fear we've overcome, how much of it we have settled with, and how much we're willing to allow ourselves to see and or others to see. And everybody goes through it the same, but it feels different for everyone because everyone has a little bit of a different pattern. But everyone has that mechanism. Some are purely, fully operated by their mechanism. Others aren't that bothered by it, but it's still there consistently. If you choose to clear your mechanism consistently, just like anything else that you practice, it will become part of your default program. And by living a life in which you are clearing the mechanism itself will begin to do what it is that you're telling it to do. The major issue is that you have been told by society and others to take in information all the time. That information has some of it periodically makes its way into your mechanism and becomes replayed constantly. So it's doing what it's told to do already. You just never gave it the proper instruction. Begin to tell it what you would like it to do. You can say, mechanism, I want you to do this. Okay. But for me, it's more important to tell myself and focus on remembering to become cognizant of it and constantly clearing it and constantly helping it function. Because the mind is beautiful and perfect. I suggest you support your mind in the function of manifesting everything around you instead of accidentally supporting just whatever information happens to be chaotically bobbing around in there. If you clear the mechanism consistently, you will have a much greater opportunity of directing the attention of your mind on what your heart actually says. And listen to the one thing your heart says. Hold that intention, and then you can consistently, if you clear the mechanism consistently, you can consistently put that new open void of attention on the intention of your heart. Or you can sit in bliss and just soak in those few minutes in which nothing is. You're already perfect. You always have been. You always will be. There is no one and nothing greater than you. This entire place is not greater than you. Be you. I love you. Prima Vultus Interior.